Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. This is Kaloy Tebunda from the New Era University ASEAN Studies Center. Today on ASEAN in Focus, we will be analyzing the so-called rice crisis and the Rice Tariffication Act that has been recently signed into law by President Rodrigo Duterte to address this problem. And we are honored to have as guest, once again, Dr. William Dar, former Director General of the International Crop Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, or ICRISAT, based in India, to help enlighten us about the issue and the so-called rice crisis in the country. Dr. Dar has had a long and distinguished career as an educator, agricultural scientist, and as administrator. He holds the distinction of being the first Filipino and Asian to be Director General of ICRISAT, a center supported by the Consultative Group on International Agricultural Research, or CGIAR. Dr. Dar has also been a member of the UN Millennium Task Force on Hunger. Prior to joining ICRISAT, he served as Presidential Advisor for Rural Development, and he was Secretary of Agriculture in the Philippines. Welcome to the program again, Dr. Dar.
Po,
Thank
Kaloy.
you for
Thank you.
always being on call.
Anytime po.
whenever we request you to be here. Anyway, so Rice Tariffication Act that has been recently signed by the by President Duterte. So what does this mean? What are its implications?
Republic Act 1123 is all about removing the quantitative restrictions and tarifying it. On top of that, it also liberalizes importation of rice. And the third aspect of this act is the setting up of the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund.
RCF. Okay.
So three aspects that we have to understand carefully.
So lifting of the quantitative restrictions.
First is the lifting of the quantitative restrictions. You know, itong quantitative restrictions, we have been in this mode for almost 26 years.
Okay.
Now,
this is a WTO.
this is a GATT WTO arrangement, and we also agreed with WTO to tarify eventually. So this is now the time. The country has now recognized.
We come to that point.
And
26
has now
years
to this point,
after
26 years, now tarifying. And the tariffication rate would be when you bring in rice from ASEAN member economies, you pay a tax of 35%. When you bring in from outside ASEAN, you pay at the rate of 50%.
Okay.
So yun po ang pagkaiba ngayon. Now, any importer, that's the second aspect. Anyone who is interested, that's what I understand presently, anyone who is interested to import rice for the country will have just to go to Bureau Plant Industry and get a SPS, a phytosanitary certificate.
Okay.
So after that, then he can bring the rice to the country. And as to the volume, there's no limit already. That's the effect of liberalization of rice importation already. And the third aspect I mentioned, in the law, it put up the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, allocating 10 billion pesos a year for 4 major areas. Mechanization, that's 5 billion. Good seeds to include research support, that's 3 billion. Credit, 1 billion. And skills development or training, that's another 1 billion.
Okay, let's dissect this one by one. QR, quantitative restrictions. Why did we have to adopt this before?
Again, because we know exactly what was the adequacy level of the country. Okay. We were producing, the latest data would mention 93% rice adequacy level.
So we produce 93% of our rice requirement.
So we know exactly what is 7% in terms of, say, million metric tons. That could be between 2 to 2.5 million metric tons a year importation. And the government, mostly NFA, have been the importer, you know, of rice. Only recently, when private sector was allowed to import. So that's under QR. Dito na ngayon walang volume, as I've said.
Okay,
So
free.
any volume, any individual can now bring in the volume they want.
Okay, so we had, any volume can now enter the country. We already lifted the quantitative restrictions, but this has been going on for the last 26 years, and finally we adopted this law.
And government is claiming that with the unlimited importation of rice, there is a reduction in prices of 2 to 7 pesos per kilo. So cheaper prices will be there in the market. So the consuming public really benefits from it.
The consuming public will benefit, but one of the more vocal critics about this law is the farming sector.
Yes.
So we had 26 years of QR, and then suddenly we liberalized. So
correct.
What have we done in the last 26 years?
I would have liked to see government doing their homework for the last 26 years, but we did not. So that's a lesson to be learned now. Hoping that for the next 6 years, kaya na natin to make this RCEF properly implemented, can make the rice farmer very productive and competitive.
Yeah, but 6 years versus 26 years, what did we do in the last 26 years? Have we done enough, or?
There's not enough, because the figures would indicate the growth every year has been a very limited growth of the Philippine agriculture sector, an average of 2 to 2.5% annually.
So do you think the 6 years will be enough to make up for the 26 years lost?
Now, we have to make caveats, like under the principle of good governance and proper planning of these measures now, and program planning, implementation, monitoring, evaluation, where private sector, the non-government organizations will come in as well. Then let's give a chance for the 6-year period for the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund to make it possible, hopefully this time around, to make that rice farmer very productive and competitive.
Are you hopeful? Are you optimistic?
Ako, palagi,
yung totoo, sir.
At the end of the day, if there is political will, if there is executive will, it can happen, properly done.
Yeah, but we had all these challenges, the corruption issues.
Again, true. If our experiences would indicate, and if we do repeat the same experiences, then the day for the rice farmer to be productive will always be, and even competitive, will always be, a long cherished.
So anyway, the main beneficiary of this one are the consumers. So rice will be coming in. Hopefully we will not witness anymore the rice crisis we had for many years already.
I hope so.
Okay, but of course, the questionable area is that of the agricultural sector.
It's the farming sector, it's the rice farmers especially. So we can say that a good number will be affected if they don't improve their cost of production. Let me cite you some statistics in terms of cost of producing palay per kilo. Dito sa bansa natin, tayo ay nasa 12 pesos and 72 centavos per kilo of palay. That's the cost of producing.
Okay.
Sa Thailand is 8 pesos and 80 centavos. Vietnam is 6 pesos and 22 centavos. Which means ang layo ng so, Vietnam, particularly in terms of having the lowest cost of production among ASEAN member economies.
Okay, we will talk more about the different issues surrounding the Rice Tariffication Act when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns. Okay, we're back with our guest here, Dr. William Dar, and we're still talking about the Rice Tariffication Act of 2019. Okay, we're talking about the RCEF, or the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, which will hopefully answer the nervousness of our agricultural sector. So can you please discuss about the RCEP?
You know, let me first mention that out of the tariff collected from importing the rice, ito po yung to be set aside by government to the tune of 10 billion, estimated at 10 billion. It could be more, but that's now being, you know, the minimum level of 10 billion. So in making the farmer very productive, the rice farmer very productive and competitive, studies would have indicate that there are 4 areas na where you can really reduce the cost of production. Like, for example, mechanization, 3 billion. The after effect of spending this is to reduce it 3 pesos lower. So yun ang contribution.
The price of the palay.
Yeah, the cost of producing per kilo palay.
So
3 pesos is the contribution of mechanization. Okay. Now, good seeds, it is believed that 1 peso will be decreased by using the best of seeds.
So this includes research?
Which will include research.
Okay.
To
complement what is being conducted by the IRI?
PhilRice is our key research agency.
Okay.
The third aspect is credit. So another 1 peso decrease in cost of production. Then you develop the capacities or the capabilities of the farmers. So skills development,
training,
another 1 peso.
What kind of trainings will
Well, again, these are the use of the newer technologies, better ways of, you know, water management, pest management, all these newer technologies in rice farming. So, in effect, we are saying that 6 pesos, you are going to impact reducing the cost of producing to the level of Vietnam. If you have that now, meaning we can now compete with, say, Vietnam and other ASEAN countries.
And we have to do this in the next 6 years, which we did not do in the last
26
last 26 years. So, yun pa rin yung tanong ko, how optimistic are you that we can achieve
this? There you are. It's real. We are forced to do it. So dapat yung energy must be higher. The way of really making it transparent and proper implementation is key, or these are key elements, because again, good governance will always be a key principle here. Then you plan well how mechanization must be implemented. You know, PhilMec is the one identified by this Rice Tariffication Act.
PhilMec is a Philippine mechanization, and this is a private organization.
No, this is an agency under the Department of Agriculture. So 3 billion ang hawakan. Now, for good seeds, that's Philippine Rice Research Institute.
And then who will do the skills development?
Skills development, I understand, is TESDA. And the credit is with the Land Bank of the Philippines.
Okay, so hopefully what we failed to achieve, what we failed to do in 26 years will be done in the next 6 years. We'll just keep our, you know,
fingers crossed.
We just hope that everything will turn out to be the best. Okay, we will talk more about the different issues surrounding the Rice Tariffication Act when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns. Okay, we're back with our interview with Dr. William Dar, and we're still talking about the Rice Tariffication Law. Earlier, we talked about the RCEP, or the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, and you said that this will entail about 10 billion pesos a year.
For the next 6 years.
For the next 6 years, wherein 5 billion will be spent for mechanization, 3 billion will be used for seeds,
good seeds, research support.
Okay, and credit for 1 billion, and skills development 1 billion. So, but the problem here is actually one of the issues I hear is that we're not really very sure whether all the appropriate rice farmers will receive this funding, because there are some rice farmers who are landless. Are the landless rice farmers included here in this program?
Well, the landless tenants who are tilling the farms of those owners, they in effect will be part in terms of getting the training, yes. When they become members to cooperatives, yes, because
so
mechanization will be done through collective action.
So farmers should be part of a cooperative?
I think that's the intention, and I highly suggest that even in the skills development, we need to have a portion for enhancing the capacities of farmers associations or cooperatives, institution building sort of. Kasi today, the policy, I believe, still for cooperatives would be, it's a benign policy. We now have to change that policy in terms of with the RCEP. Dapat talaga todo yung tulong ng cooperatives development.
That's another sad aspect of Philippine agriculture. We have not really organized our farmers cooperatives well.
Because it's impossible to reach out to almost 5 million rice farmers. So collectively, that's now a good approach for mechanization, even in the distribution of good seeds for the inbreds, particularly. There should be a mechanism to make it possible that a cluster of seed producers will be organized so that they will support an area nearby. Because, seed multiplication, seed production, and distribution will be a humongous activity under the Philippine Rice Research Institute.
And credit provision, kasi mas mahirap na bigyan mo pa isa-isa yung...
Tama po. So that's why Land Bank has to also strengthen and really put up a credit facility that will go down and to be tapped by the rice farmers collectively.
But given our history of cooperatives development in the countryside, how do you think this will materialize?
If we follow the same orientation today, which is benign, meaning you encourage, meaning encourage is not...
You do not force them to become members of cooperatives.
I will put up a systematic program to really build up institutions like cooperatives. That must be the way forward.
So, mechanization, what do we need? For example, okay, saan dito, sir, yung, among others, yung post-harvest facilities?
Okay, kasama po dito sa post-harvest facilities ang farm mechanization.
Okay.
And that would include post-harvest plus land preparation and harvesting, so the key machineries will have to be given the co-ops of rice farmers.
And you're very positive that this will be...
Hopefully, again, with all now the mines, the consultations that will be made to involve the rice farmers, the rice farmers associations or producers organizations and cooperatives. I think let's pick up the best way possible to implement all these schemes or all these measures.
Okay, the law has been passed actually last week, right?
Last week,
okay. And the government has, the economic managers of the Duterte administration have set March 5, 2019 as the deadline for issuing the implementing rules and regulations. But there's another group, one of the big farmer groups, the Federation of Free Farmers under Raul Montemayor. He's one of the more vocal critics of this law. And one of his issues is, why is the government rushing the IRR when it has to be, actually they need a maximum of 45 days so for the loss effectivity, so it has to be done we still have until April 19,
My
2019
take on
to do
this, Kaloy, is the more people, the more organizations involved in terms of crafting. I mean, you consult them before it's finally crafted, the implementing rules and regulations. So let's not rush.
Okay.
So that there is a good buy-in in terms of the implementation of these measures.
Why do you think, why is the government rushing these things now?
Now, maybe of the tariffication, you know,
Yes, yes.
because they have yet to have to collect when you are now going to implement and or open up the importation, because that's where they can get the 10 billion for the 5 measures or the 4 measures we have identified.
Although this law has been late for 26 years, diba? We should have come up with this 26 years ago. But it seems it was rushed. Since remember the last time you were here, our issue was the rice crisis in September, October, and then suddenly, wow, they have this rice tariffication act already, and there seemed to be actually when I read the news accounts, of course there were two versions. You have the lower house and in the Senate, but it seems that the version of the Senate was the one that got
I think
ratified.
I can see this as a government's answer to high inflation.
Okay.
You know, food inflation was so high. So with this, it has been modeled that about 0.6% will be, is that 0.6%? Yes. Will be
60%, 6%.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Will be reduced.
Yeah, our inflation rate then was 6% per month, and hopefully this will reduce
0.6.
Okay. Anyway, going back to the comments of Mr. Montemayor, so he said that the latest draft of the IRR is 32 pages long. How do you expect ordinary farmers to understand, much less critique, this draft?
That's why 45 days is good enough, so that first half of that period is crafting, and before you adapt, you have also to get some more feedback. So in 45 days, you have a good final draft where majority, if not all, will, you know, have a buy-in.
But they're going around the country now.
I understand today they started, like Secretary Piñol is now in Muñoz, Nueva Ecija. So regions from the north are now in Muñoz. Having this discussion about the implementing rules and regulations.
Your group was not consulted during the drafting of the bill?
In many ways, yes, we were not consulted, but I understand there was an open, you know, when you have ideas, you have just to submit through both houses. Yeah.
So are you satisfied with how the bill was, quote-unquote, rushed?
Again, I can understand because sabi nga natin, 26 years na yung QR, dapat
malift na talaga.
Malift na yon or ma-stop na yon in favor of tariffication. So, yun po ang isang major purpose. Number two, because then there was this rice crisis, so inflation has to be managed, and so there you are. Those were the two major. Plus, how can you make the farmer competitive?
Yes.
Ito ngayon yung 10 billion.
Yeah, but according to some accounts, actually I think even the Agriculture Secretary himself was not happy because he said that it was the Senate version that prevailed. What's the difference between the Senate version and the lower house version? I
understand the House has still the features of retaining the powers of NFA in terms of price stabilization. And the Senate has none.
Okay, so what will happen to the NFA now?
NFA has to reinvent itself in terms of being a buffering agency, meaning buffer stocking agency. And it will also reinvent itself in terms of now becoming a tooling agency. Tooling in many ways. You buy wet palay, then you dry, you have your drying facilities, you mill, then you warehouse.
Okay.
So ito po yung malaking tulong. Dapat ito yung aking suggestion dito sa redrafting of the new NFA. to have that responsibility of tooling, so they are able to buy enough palay, wet palay, because today they're only buying dry palay, which is 12-13% moisture content, while the wet palay, you know, as is harvested, you have about 30 to 35%
So
moisture.
NFA will be the one to do the drying.
That's what I am trying to suggest, because they can have more facilities for drying. Of course, I would like also to see that the cooperatives will be given the drying facilities, so that whatever
that's part of the mechanization.
As part of the mechanization.
Okay.
So you have a drying facility and a milling capacity, so you value add right away. So that's one way to make them competitive, rather than just producing the palay. So I hope this will be considered in the drafting of the implementing rules and regulations.
So maraming functions ang natanggal pala sa NFA.
Opo, malaki po yung ginagampanan po nila sa price stabilization. Ngayon, under this new law, this new regime, wala nang price stabilization. So it's making the market forces work.
Okay, pero there's still the issue. Are farmers ready for that?
Now, I have one suggestion in terms of the IRR. Doon po sa pagkuha ng phytosanitary certificate with the Bureau of Plant Industry.
Okay.
You know, we have to see to it that the good agricultural practices of food items like rice are being practiced. Number two, that this must be duly inspected from the source of origin. Remember, there was a problem, the book issue last time around. We hope that does not repeat itself.
Who will do that? Who will do the checking
there should be
from the point of origin?
pre-inspection from the source of origin.
Who will do that? Who will do that?
Well,
NFA? Are you suggesting that?
The NFA or other mechanisms, they have to identify who will do that, because that's very material in bringing in this good rice for the consuming public.
Actually, another issue is, will the NFA stop buying palay from farmers once it has accumulated enough buffer stocks?
There you are. They have only, I understand, 7 billion pesos a year. Now, what does that 7 billion, if you translate that to how many metric tons, they will only buy 5 to 6 day equivalent of rice.
Wow, and they're supposed to have a buffer stock of 15 to 30 days.
So there is now inconsistency of what was the previous level of buffer stocking of 15 at any given point in time. They have to have a buffer stock of 15. This time around, with 7 billion, they can only have 5 to 6 days.
Okay, we will talk more about the different issues surrounding the rice tariffication law when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns. Okay, we're back with our interview with Dr. William Darhe, and we're still talking about the rice liberalization, Rice Tariffication Act of 2019. Okay, one of the reasons for this Rice Tariffication Act is, of course, rice liberalization, wherein importers can now freely import rice coming from other countries, and hopefully it will reduce the lower prices of rice in the market. The question is, how sure are we that the price of rice will really go down?
Well, it's in general true that when you have more supplies in the market, prices will be going down.
Yes, yes.
So you can venture and hazard a scenario that when you have the imported rice, supply is not released regularly, then you can have the potential of higher prices.
Rice cartels. So what is the assurance that rice importation will not be controlled by rice cartels.
Then government has to come in to really put up new measures to be against cartelization.
Is there any safeguard in the law about rice cartels? No safeguard.
The way I read through, there's minimal intervention by government.
So it's really market forces operating.
It's market forces at work, but there is a portion there where if they feel that tariff is low, then the president can increase the level of tariffs when the Congress is not in session.
Wow. Anyway, why do we have this rice supply problem? Compared to our neighbors, they don't have rice crisis. We're also producing rice at 93% self-sufficiency, and I know for a fact that, for example, Malaysia has even lower, but they don't have this rice crisis.
Okay, let's take the case of Singapore and Malaysia.
Okay.
Singapore, not even 10% of the rice is planted within Singapore.
I haven't seen any rice field in Singapore.
So, karamihan po ng pagkain ng bigas ng Singapore ay imported.
Everything.
Bakit? Because they are very good in other aspects of business like manufacturing and service. So they have more the creation of wealth from other sectors, and they use this wealth to buy food. So that's still food security. As long as you are able to buy your food because you have created wealth, then you are food secure.
Okay.
So one of the most food secured country in the world is Singapore.
Malaysia.
Now Malaysia, initially they were at 60%.
Okay.
Now they have upped it to 75%. Maybe they have still potential agricultural lands for rice agriculture. So, but not 100%. They are not eyeing for 100%. And the same principles, they have more other industries or other sectors that are giving them more wealth, that are creating more wealth for the country. Hence, they have more money to buy food imports.
Okay, we source our rice mostly from Thailand,
and
Vietnam, Cambodia. Why don't they have this problem? Why are we getting our rice from them?
Okay. Itong Vietnam and Thailand, the hectarage is double if not triple our hectarage in terms of rice.
Yeah, mostly flatland sila kasi, diba?
Okay, they have mostly, so yun na lang hectarage, panalo na.
Yes.
Sa atin, more than 3 million hectares. You double crop to some extent, you have 4.5 million hectares.
Okay.
The second important resource of these two countries would be water.
Okay.
They have the delta.
The Mekong River
Mekong Delta River.
So, free irrigation.
Irrigation is 100%.
Okay.
Dito sa atin, naghihingalo yung ating irrigation. Our investment in irrigation systems development is very, hindi sapat dun sa requirement po natin.
What percent of our rice land is irrigated?
Okay, sabihin natin 50% of our rice lands
is irrigated.
1.5 million.
Okay.
But itong 1.5 million, how many would be very efficient during dry season?
Yes.
When hindi tagulan? 60%.
Okay.
Meaning hindi mo madoble. 160%.
Remember, in one of our, actually in most of my interviews with you in this program, we were critiquing the Quest for Rice Self-Sufficiency program of the government, and we always come up with the conclusion that it's not a viable option for our agricultural industry. And then we have this now, so we are not anymore
so our thesis then is correct. We have proven that yes, because we are not putting in all the kind of investment that must be there to make it possible. Technically, it is possible. Okay, sa paggamit na lang ng hybrid rice, for example, you convert, from the present hectarage, from present level of 500,000 hectares na hybrid, dublihin mo yan sa 1 million hectares, ay magagampanan mo na yung 2 million metric tons na kakulangan natin. And sustain it over the longer term by having more irrigation systems developed. So, it is possible. mag-ano lang tayo, mag-build tayo rin sa agrikultura.
Okay, pero okay na, we're now forgetting our quest for rice self-sufficiency.
Yes.
But what about food security? For example, of course, we have this problem of climate change. What if the countries where we import our rice from suddenly stop their export to us because of climate change? So they have to feed their populations first before
That's a strong
exporting.
possibility, Kaloy. China, India, biggest countries in the world in terms of population. Pag may problema because of climate change, then they will buy everything that is there in the market. There is only a teen level, actually 5% of total global rice production is in the market.
For import-export.
That is translated to 35 million metric tons. Tayo, kung wala na mabili, we get 2.5 million metric tons a year. So, for me, I strongly believe still to develop the rice industry.
Okay.
Meaning, yes, productivity has to be enhanced, competitiveness has to be enhanced. Let's raise the level to say even 95%, kung kaya natin 100%, but that's already an aspiration.
Yes, yes.
Over time siguro,
Na hindi natin kaya.
Hindi natin kaya.
Proven time and again.
So let's now be food secure in many ways.
Okay, how do we do that?
By creating more wealth in agriculture.
Okay.
Okay. There will be those rice farmers who will be affected, who will fold up,
yes, yes,
and will no longer plant rice.
So what do they
because
do?
They are not competitive. The better option for them is to go to high-value agriculture, crops like vegetables and fruits.
Okay.
Those that can be grown in 3 months' time or in 3.5 months' time. Now, high-value agriculture ang tawag ko doon kasi mas mataas po ang kita rin ng magsasaka doon sa high-value agriculture kumpara mo dito sa rice farming. It could give you 50 to 100% more income. However, ang caveat natin, there must be almost the same funding opportunity for the crop diversification.
For the other
high-value crops that we would like properly done in a scale by the present rice farmers.
We've seen in the last week, and a few weeks before, we've seen farmers from Cordillera dumping their carrots. We see our farmers in Nuevesia dumping their onions and talong, eggplant. So malaki ang production pero ito pa rin ang nangyayari.
Ang dapat, it's a value chain approach at titingnan natin. Hindi lang productivity or production, titingnan na natin, mag-set up na tayo ng rural industries.
Yes.
Meaning processing or manufacturing. Dapat yun po ang tulong natin na sakan. Dapat may mga negosyante. Let's provide maybe income tax holidays for rural industries, agricultural rural industries to be set up near production areas. In effect, you are really making the farmers more prosperous than present. Then, not only that, we have to develop the markets nationally and internationally. Because, again, why are the other ASEAN countries more prosperous than the Philippines in terms of agriculture? Because they have now ventured into real good agribusiness. Export strategy is a major strategy.
Okay, back to our previous question before in our previous episodes. Why haven't we done that through the years?
Nakakapanghinayang kung bakit hindi natin mapagsama-sama lahat ng government agencies having to do with these three aspects of the value chain. Production, processing, marketing. Pag nagsama-sama lahat ng government institutions, nagko-converge sana, ang ganda sana yung patutunguhan natin.
Okay. And what do we do to entice investors in the agricultural sector?
Again, agriculture has to be treated as now an industry.
Which it really is in the first place.
Well,
it's supposed to be our basic industry.
It was not. It was disjointed in many respects. So we have to make it a holistic point of view in terms of developing it. Then, let's have more agribusinesses set up. To make it possible, itong sinasabi natin na rural industrialization. While we can encourage the big cooperatives to go into processing, we can also, the same opportunities can be given big businesses to go to the rural areas and set up processing industries. Of course, ito na mga big business, alam nila yung merkado na.
Yes, yes.
So yung ability to look for the markets, bring the markets to the global markets, it's really planning. Hindi lang yung surplus ay i-export mo. Dapat nakaplano na ilan volume, for a long term, you should plan out what are those key commodities, key crops, export commodities.
That's how our neighbors prospered.
They have been doing that for the last 30 years.
Why can't we do that?
30 years na po sila doon. Ang dalawa, mayroon tayo export naman, para naman hindi natin masabi zero. Dalawa na nasa kategorya ng $1 billion earning.
Which are these?
Which are coconut. Oil, and banana.
Okay.
Otherwise, nandun na sa less than $500 million category, mga 5-6 na produkto.
Okay, with this rice tariffication law, do you think there will be more focus now on the other high-value crops?
This is the positive influence now of the rice tariffication law, having now to create more high-value agriculture, more rice farmers. I mean, those rice farmers now going to high-value agriculture will now have more opportunity to earn more, and be more prosperous, because much more when a program, a competitiveness for diversification, diversification, competitiveness enhancement fund will be made available also.
So this is the silver lining for our rice farmers,
Tama
for small rice
if
farmers.
One window or door is closed, another door opens.
So, all in all, how positive are you that good things will come out?
Positive pa rin ako po. I am very hopeful na ang ating Pilipinas ay kaya natin itong i-implement na tama, itong rice tariffication law. Pagbigyan natin ang mga kinaukulan, tutulungan po natin sila. And because we only have one country, we need to grow and develop Philippine agriculture, because majority of the people still are depending on agriculture, but transforming agriculture as an industry and more agribusinesses, so that more income will be generated at the end of the day. So creating more wealth as a result of, say, export strategy, of having to plant more high value, of having to train more skillful and more competitive farmers.
Okay.
We are in a new age now.
Yes.
We have to transform from Industry 1.0 to now Industry 4.0, which is now the digital age.
Yes, yes. And hopefully our agricultural sector will be able to cope up with that. Of course, with the government orchestrating all of this and enticing the private sector to really invest in developing our agricultural capacity as industry, as a nation. Okay? Thank you very much.
Salamat po ulit
Dr. Dar, salamat ulit. At hopefully you will guest again in one of our future episodes in this program. Okay? Thank you very much. That's all, folks. This is Kaloy Tabunda, and I'm one with 25.